Good to see you.
You
Haven't
too,
seen you
Clem.
since last week. As I was saying, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
We had a good Mother's Day on Sunday. So today's session, I was trying to find an interesting segue into it. The only one I could find is that it's got cis in the word, as in sisters. But
Oh, I thought you meant sisters in like...
as in, like a
cis.
CYST, no, as in SIS.
Okay.
I guess this is something that I think is hyper relevant to both of us, and it's about consistency. And I think the difficulty of consistency, and I think what people what they perceive consistency to be, or how they find it hard to maintain. And I guess there's so many ways we can kind of tackle this. There's actually so much I want to talk about this. I've actually put some notes down. I hope you don't mind.
I think that's a good idea. It's a good topic. I like that you came up with that.
But I think for me, I think why this is such an important topic is because I think personally speaking, I have always struggled with consistency. And I have always kind of, I think, attributed it to the fact that I'm ill-disciplined. Like I don't have discipline.
Okay.
And that was always something that I believed about myself. And, you can attest to the fact that like 4 years, I was really poor at going to the gym. It was not something I just didn't do consistently. It was something I kind of dabbled in and out and in and out. And it's only until I would say like my late 20s, actually, probably when I was in Hong Kong, when suddenly I started getting into it. And I think it changed when my mindset around it changed.
What do you think consistency is?
What do I think consistency is? So I think consistency is showing up or doing something day after day in a somewhat repetitive kind of way, but over a long period of time.
Yeah.
I think that's consistency, but how you build it and maintain it, I think those are two really hard things. And I don't know about you, but I hear a lot in my practice is, oh, I'm just not good at being consistent. I just don't have the discipline.
Yeah.
So I think the first fallacy or the first point I'd like to cover is, does consistency have anything to do with discipline?
One thing I'd say is consistency, I think, can show up in two ways. Like in good ways, you can be good consistent and you can be bad consistent.
Okay.
Because I think, like you say, it is repetitive things that you do over and over again, and that you kind of nearly automate, not necessarily completely, but nearly automate.
Yeah.
And then I'd say the bad consistency is about, I suppose, rewriting that, like, removing, like untangling that consistency and then rebuilding it towards something you actually want to do. So I think there has to be an element of desire so that you can stay consistent.
Okay. Expand.
So I'm just trying to think, like, is it linked to you said to willpower?
Yeah.
Discipline.
So discipline, willpower, I hear that all the time. I just don't have enough willpower.
I suppose willpower kind of gets the motion going, but discipline kind of keeps it on track. Like, as in, if you think of it as a car, willpower is like turning the engine on. You have to want to,
I guess the way I'm seeing it in my mind's eye is more consistency requires discipline. But for discipline to happen again and again, you need a system.
Okay.
And I think this is something that I think when people come to see like a nutritionist or a coach or a dietitian, I think they look for the advice, but they fall short at setting up the system.
Yeah, which I suppose they want the support to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, but this is where it can sometimes get really grey, because someone might come to you or me for some sort of advice, but we have to get into the nitty gritty of like the implementation, right? Like, how are you going to make that be something that's continuous, like day in, day out, day in, day out?
Yeah.
Because that's when you start seeing progress and results.
Yeah.
I mean, is it something that you struggle with, consistency?
I think I'm quite flexible with things. So in the sense that, like, if I know what my aim is and what I'm trying to achieve, then I know how to get there. So yes, I can put systems in place quite easily, but then I don't really put so much pressure on myself that I know, because you need flexibility so that life happens. Basically, consistency can also occur in an environment where you introduce flexibility, because then it means you don't have to do it. You can let yourself, not be too regimented by it.
Yeah.
And that makes it more realistic that you can have a consistent outcome, I suppose. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think that definitely supports that notion of getting out. So I think some of the big trip ups, right, for people when they do try and set up these systems is that they feel like they need to be perfect at it.
Yeah.
And it has to be 100% of the time this thing happens. And, it's that classic perfectionism and all or nothing kind of fallacy. And I guess what you're saying is around, well, if you accept that there's going to be some cases when it doesn't happen, then it still doesn't mean that you have to give up that new habit or that new system that you've put into place.
But I suppose actually, if you think about it, this made me think, like, everyone in a way is consistent about something. It's just, if you think about it, we're all consistent. Either we're consistently failing, setting ourselves to fail, consistently not doing things we want to do, consistently thinking negative things, or we're consistently trying to do better, consistently achieving our goals. So this is where it goes down to, like, the positive consistency and negative consistency.
Yeah.
Now, the ones that are using it to their benefit are, quote unquote, achieving more, and the ones who are not achieving it to their benefit are, quote unquote, failing. So if you think about it, we all are consistent. It's what kind of consistency are you working with?
That's actually really interesting, because then actually, or I think a really important message from that is we all have the capacity.
Well, there you go. That's my
to develop
point.
consistency.
Yeah. Because try and tell me someone or a situation where someone isn't consistent. There are few and far between. There probably are some, but
I mean, unless someone is ill or, whatever. But yeah, I mean, if
in a way it shows up in everyone's lives.
There is some form of consistency in everybody's life, whether it's having food every day or drinking water every day or...
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying more outcome based. If you think about anyone there has to be some consistency in what they're doing. It might not be the good kind, but therefore it's about trying to switch it from being the bad kind consistency to the good kind consistency.
Yeah. I mean, you could also even look at it like that. I would even say go back to the basics. Like, there are things that you have to do just on a consistent basis just to live. So even if you want to go back to the fundamentals, everyone has the capacity to do something with a form of consistency, which means that we are all capable of it to a certain extent.
Completely agreed.
Given the right circumstances and the right systems putting into place. Okay.
So I suppose if that's a starting point, it's to try and tell someone if they're struggling with what they're trying to like, let's call it the good consistency versus the bad consistency.
Yeah.
They're trying to get to the good consistency, then maybe, I'm thinking about it now, but maybe you try and say to them, if you know you can do this XYZ and it's not working for you, then surely you realize you know you can do the good consistency.
Yeah.
And so it's about, first of all, even acknowledging like it isn't actually out of reach at all, because then people say, but I can't be consistent. I'm not consistent.
I'm not disciplined.
I'm not disciplined, etc. So you say to them, no, you are, but you're just in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
So try and sway it to the positive, the good direction.
We've talked about consistency, discipline, almost like the sort of what would you say, the intellectual piece about what it is and how it works and who's capable of it in a sense. So, and I think you've just done a really good segue into, okay, how do we then implement it? Right? How do we, get someone to build something in a consistent kind of way?
Well, then if we're talking about it from what, I suppose then it's, first of all, what are they trying to achieve? So the desire.
Yeah.
Then it's about figuring out in their situation, in their lives, in their routine, where does that fit in, and then go even one step, one kind of level deeper and go, how do you implement that? And that's the bit that isn't unique to everyone.
I guess it's starting with that end goal piece, the building blocks that kind of work to that. And then starting with that micro change that starts.
Right. Exactly. And I do think there has to be, like, coming back to the smelly breath, like if you don't want to have smelly breath, you brush your teeth. You're trying to tell me
something.
But I'm just saying, like, let's also not overcomplicate it. If you want to, if it's a really deep desire to be a clean, tidy person, then you have to tidy up your room or your home or, declutter, etc. So it has to be a desire. It can't just be like a, I'd like to be, but I realistically am not.
Yeah.
Because if you have that already in your mindset, then the act of putting all these implementations in is probably not going to work for you.
Yeah, that's true. I do think they're definitely, and that's where the identity piece comes in.
And that's where the identity, I mean, it gets called identity. I'm calling it desire, I suppose, but yes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so you're kind of interchanging those two things. Okay,
I think so, yeah.
And then I do think that's a really important piece, right? It's the identity, and again, going back to bits of the James Clear, Atomic Habits. But if you become just someone who is athletic or who does exercise, you're much more then likely to develop that routine and that habit. And again, irrespective of if it's good weather or you feel tired or whatever, that's just something that you do.
I'm interested to think of blockers to consistency.
Blockers to consistency.
Can you think of anything apart from like physical health, let's say, like actually dying or,
That would be a bit of a blocker.
I'm not consistent anymore. That would be a massive blocker to consistency. When you're consistently dead.
You're consistently dead. I mean, it's a form of consistency.
I suppose it is. So I'm telling you, it shows up in everyone, consistency, even in dead people. Consistency. Name me someone who isn't consistent. That's going to be a really good one to think about now.
Even when you're dead, you're consistently dead.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the takeaway.
She's the ultimate form of consistency.
One habit.
Do it perfectly.
Every day.
And 10 out of 10.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to think, what are the actual barriers to consistency? Because someone will say to you, no, I really, really want to lose weight. I promise you, it's like desperate for my wedding. It's, blah, blah, blah. I've got all of these motivations, but it's not working for me, this system. So they're going to bring up, what kind of barriers can you think of that are coming up?
Top one on the list, stress. Stress is something that really throws people off. And I think because stress, people then revert back to comfort. And if you've just started on like a new habit journey and it hasn't really ingrained itself like in a deep kind of way, you revert back.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, because in your stress format, as it were, I suppose, your stress body, you are just surviving, and therefore you have to remove all of the novelty, the experimental stuff. Like you go back to your core, ingrained automatic things that you do to keep alive, basically, to stay alive.
And I think if you've just started on this like fitness journey,
you haven't automated it yet.
You haven't automated it.
But so then, so you go back to a form of safety.
Exactly. In a consistent kind of way. Again.
We've definitely established it. If someone says to you, I am not a consistent person, say, hang on a sec.
But I think that's I'm definitely going to be using that
Because
one.
also I think then you take it off the pedestal of it's really hard to be consistent, and it's really, it's only certain
people who can achieve consistency.
And actually, if you start saying to no, you are consistent. You're consistently having negative thoughts. You're consistently putting yourself down. You're consistently telling yourself you're not capable. That
mechanism is there.
Exactly. And so I think already identifying that, then they're like, oh yeah, actually, I guess I am. I'm consistently unhappy. I'm consistently, complaining about something. Yeah. Okay, so you do have consistency.
Or consistently like not going to the gym.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. I think another one is people who have false expectations that they need to do this perfectly. So I think, and at the first sign of quote unquote failure / not doing that habit that they've told themselves that they were going to do it, having that, and what I call the fuck it moment, which is like, I'll throw the baby out with the bathtub, or you're like, well, I failed once, so no point trying again. Like that's done and dusted. And I think if dropping off and not doing something once is totally fine. It's normal even. Yeah. Ideally, you don't want to not do it twice, because then that becomes the new habit of avoiding doing that thing that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so, it's really telling yourself and not overly obsessing over the times that you didn't manage to do it. Just if it didn't happen for whatever reason, just being like, okay, that wasn't the day for it to happen. Move on next. And in a way, teaching yourself to get back on track of whatever you're trying to do is in itself a muscle.
Yeah.
That you exercise. Like, okay, it can happen and it has happened and it'll likely happen again. This is how I get back on it.
Yeah.
And
so
then
you have
do
to have
that.
Flexibility.
And actually, I think you're absolutely right. You do. You have to start with the notion that it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah. I think you definitely have to have flexibility, because not every day we feel the same.
Yes.
So especially when it comes to say exercise, meditation,
and
going
women,
out for
I'd say that's a big thing with women. Hormones. My gosh, I mean, coming up to my period, like going to the gym is hardship.
So therefore,
in itself.
I think there's the idea that if you introduce the concept of flexibility when you're telling people about it, or discussing it with them, already it's like, okay, so consistency doesn't necessarily mean 100% of the time. It means
75,
80. I also think, I was thinking just now, what I do if I miss something, I just let it pass and I'm like, okay, doesn't mean it. I detach any importance to it.
Exactly.
I have actually not meditated for the last 2 days, and it just made me think of that. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm not on a roll.
Yeah.
It just means I haven't done it.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about it. That's literally all I think about it. And then I'll go, okay, I'll just get back onto it. But I think if you start saying to yourself, I suppose I do understand, if you're starting something new that seems uncomfortable and you stop doing it for a few days or a day or so, you then start saying to yourself, oh, I'm a bit crap.
Yeah.
You start judging yourself. You start going, oh, I knew I couldn't do it, or it was unrealistic for me to be able to meditate when I get to bed at this time and I wake up at this time. So I suppose if you stop judging yourself, that already helps with the confidence piece, like not giving yourself a hard time about it.
I think the other thing too is, if you've been changing a habit and like you said, that feels uncomfortable, and then you've stopped and you're like, oh, this feels comfortable. I recognize this. Like not doing this is what I'm used to doing.
Yeah.
Then you revert back to it.
Yeah.
Because change is uncomfortable. Change inherently is uncomfortable. And I think this is an analogy that I do use a lot, which is this idea that you've spent years and months building systems that support a habit. If you're trying to move, it's a bit like a river changing its course. It takes time. At first, it's going to be a stream or like a little trickle of water. And then little by little, the more you feed into it, the river will start digging itself in that waterbed. And so this is my analogy. And so it's a good one.
Yeah.
And eventually that old path will dry up, but the new one will kind of carve its way out. But you need to keep feeding it and keep pushing into it
Yeah,
and
but
going
you're
back
talking
into
about
it.
habit forming, I suppose.
Well, I'm talking about the discomfort. I think it's I do think sometimes there is an element of maybe preparing someone that this isn't going to feel super comfortable from day one, right? There is going to be an element of like, you have to adapt.
And then
somehow,
so that person agreed with you, but that person will turn around and say, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
And then when they get to the roadblock, they go, essentially they get it in theory, but in practice, sometimes they don't get it because they don't realize the reality of discomfort. And I think that's something that people underestimate. Absolutely. And therefore, I would then question someone or myself. If that was happening to me time and time again, then I'd question my desire, i.e. what is it I really want to achieve?
So I think, so there's the question of desire. I mean, the other thing you can work on too is get a plan B in place, right? Like when that happens, as opposed to if it happens or assuming it doesn't happen. When that happens, what's my response going to be?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So you've constantly got a bit of if the straight road of this habit is not working, what's the B road I can take, And then this way, so for instance, we're using gym as the analogy because I think that's a really classic one. But okay, I woke up, I feel really tired and a bit shitty and I just don't feel like going to the gym. Right. In which case, I'm just going to go for a walk. That's still me getting movement. It's still me getting out and getting fresh air. And I'm still on track of the habit that I'm trying to do. And it's still making that space and time. While I would go to the gym, I'm going for a nice gentle walk instead.
You've just described every one of my gym sessions, by the way. Like me walking on the treadmill.
Exactly.
Literally, that is what I do. Like
at the moment,
like 80% of the time, I just get there and I'm like, oh. But then I sit on the treadmill and I just put it on the inclination, and I'm just like, okay, well, it's something. But I'm like you say, I'm there. You're
there. You've made the time. You've carved the time out. Yeah. Like I think that's really important. That in itself is consistent.
Yes, I've become a consistent treadmill walker, uphill treadmill walker. But what is also quite nice, though, I'd say, and I find this works for me, is that then you can like still tick it off as done that day.
Exactly.
Like in my diary is because when I don't know about you, when I don't do something, I have this mental thing where I have to remove it from my diary. So say in my diary I have Monday gym, Wednesday gym, and Friday gym. Yeah. Say that was what it was, and then say Wednesday I don't go to the gym. That evening, I will remove it from the diary.
So you'll like scratch it out,
basically as like a no-show.
As in, wow, you're harsh with yourself.
But because then it allows, maybe I am really harsh. But then because then it's like I'm not lying to myself. If I look back at my diary, I'm like, I went to the gym twice. So just also the actual impact of being like, no, I can keep it in there.
That's well, I guess at least it makes you more actually like. What's in your diary you actually do.
Yes, absolutely. I do this all the time. But even in my work diary, every day I have things I have to do.
Yeah.
If I haven't done them, I move them to the next day.
Yes.
So I have a lot of rolling basis. Or I delete it if it's no longer relevant, etc. So everything is current.
So I had slightly the opposite problem where I had put in my phone diary gym every day from 6 till 7. I probably fulfilled that about 5% of the time.
See, but don't you find that so super demotivating then?
Not
so
demotivating.
It's actually just like a placeholder.
Yes. And that was kind of the point. I was like, okay, well, one is that it blocks my diary so people can't put time. No one's putting time in at 6 a.m. anyway. I wouldn't allow that. But it's more just, I think it was just as a reminder. But the problem with that, and I don't think that's a good thing, by the way, the problem with that was that then it became a habit for me to ignore.
Well, that's my whole point.
Yeah.
It's like the annoying reminder that comes on your phone and then you put it aside.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested that that's what you do because...
Not anymore.
Okay.
So until recently, where I've really had a rethink about my diary and I actually really started blocking times where I was like, right, this is for like, when I'm doing CPD time with my hypnotherapy, or this is when I'm the podcast, and I'm going to do research for the podcast, and this is when I'm going to go to the gym. And then I've become much more consistent with it.
But yeah, but I'd say most successful, productive people do that.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a diary that you respect. If you don't respect your diary, then it's just
respect your diary.
Yeah, but literally, if you have, it's like your to-do list. If you write a to-do list and you never do anything on it, you have no respect for your to-do list.
Yeah, but I guess I can't even, but this is what I mean. I'm not someone, I think, who naturally had like quite a lot of discipline. I think I was a bit more shoot from the hip, like, what do I feel like doing today? And then kind of go about
so
that.
The next problem is you have to remove the stuff you don't do.
But in terms of like gym, I wasn't finding I was getting the results that I wanted because...
Well, you were never going.
I was just ignoring it all the time.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And so then when I changed it, I said, okay, well, I'm going to take out the noise and be very mindful about when I put it in.
Definitely. I mean, I could have told you for free.
Thanks. I think discomfort is something that you have to expect with habit change. And I think, yes, there is you can question the identity piece and the desire or if that's still very relevant, plan for the times where it's going to go wrong.
Yes. And I would add to that, definitely, all of this is in the realm of personal growth that we're talking about. And personal growth is uncomfortable. That is just, there's no way around that.
Exactly.
So if you are getting on board the personal growth train and you're not ready to be shaken, then get off at the next stop. No, but really, like at some point, if you think it's going to be an easy journey and it's just like the Orient Express, that's not the right train.
You need to be going on the tube on the Northern Line.
Yeah, exactly, where it's really hot and sweaty.
At rush hour.
Yeah, exactly.
In August.
It's a little bit that. So whenever you think about personal growth and implementing changes, habits, in this conversation we're talking about consistency, I do think you have to expect some discomfort.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready for that, or if it's not up your street, then I think you're not ready for that side of your personal growth. So how about your meditation?
So
new habit.
Actually, I was going to say, this is kind of, I think, why this kind of came to mind, because I got to day 2 and I just didn't keep up with it. And it was day 1, I did it and I was doing sort of the meditation and it felt really nice.
How did you do it?
I was just in silence and had the red light on, and I remembered the Calm app. They did this analogy of like the clouds and the clouds
Morning
coming
or
in.
Evening?
Evening.
Okay.
And I did like you with the red light because I was like, that's a protected time. I can't, And then day 2.
Your face will thank you.
My face was thanking me. And then day 2, I reverted back to how I was before, which was to tidy my room whilst I have my red light.
Okay. And then day 3?
Same thing. I got into, and then I was like...
so you stopped meditation?
Pretty much.
So you did one day of meditation?
Yeah. And this is, I think this is why it came to me, this concept, because I was like, what is it about this thing that I'm trying to do? And it's really simple and it feels good and it's got everything for it. And for some reason, I just can't make the time for it and I can't make the space for it.
So in this particular case...
So if I had to work back and I worked on that, the first thing I would do is I would prepare the scene, right? My room has to be tidy before I put the mask on so that the environment is set and I've got nothing to do.
Away.
Put my knickers away, the phone's on silent, and it's very much all I have to do is the meditation. So there's no distraction.
Got you,
and it's kind of the last hurdle before put my moisturizer on and go to bed. And I think that would be how I would kind of work back to it.
But also, does it not make you think that you just don't value it as enough either as a practice?
Absolutely. And it's not that I don't think it's a valuable practice.
No, I know. But for you, right now, it's probably not something that you
it's
need
not top
or
of mind.
It's
not, and I just don't feel like I need it at the moment. Like my mind actually feels quite clear. And I know it's not about needing and it's a practice you do consistently. But I think because one, it doesn't hurt enough, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the desire is
the
not
desire there. And I just don't think it's also built into my identity of I'm someone who meditates. I would never describe myself as that.
Well, no, you don't.
No.
For one day. But this is exactly the whole thing as well. It's the
Jay Shetty. I could meditate for a day and call myself a monk.
But it's like the meditation piece for you is definitely how I see it from you telling me that is that you just don't want to, you don't want it enough. It doesn't hurt enough for you. You don't believe intrinsically about the benefits of it sufficiently. And also it's more in your character, maybe in like how you organize your thoughts and things like that. So I think that's where you question rather than trying to push it and really go, you're not quite convinced about it. The marketing hasn't worked on you.
The marketing's worked, but for me, it's just not something that I'm at this moment, I think, have, like you said, the desire to adopt. You could have everything that is for a habit and still not find the space to do it consistently. I think there's maybe an element of ego of I feel like I just don't need it.
So that's the identity piece, isn't it? You're not a meditator.
No, I'm not a meditator. And I think also I'm not great at being a preventer.
You wait until it hurts. And then I think a lot of people are like that.
Exactly. I think a lot of people. I mean, I say that I do go to the gym regularly and not because, I've got
I reckon with meditation, possibly, it may never happen for you, but it could also be a piece of, something is going to happen maybe and you'll need it for your mental health and then you'll get on
And I have had moments where I have, like journaling, like things like that. It goes very much in and out.
Interesting. Same with journaling. What you're saying is all of those type of reflective practices for you are not necessary to do consistently.
From a personal point of view. But I think I'm very open to the fact that could change. I don't think that's necessarily a permanent state. Great. Thank you so much.
That's good. Good topic, Clembo.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be on a break for probably a couple of weeks.
Really?
Well, I'm away next week. And then, so it's 1 week.
Okay.
Unless you're going away.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the next episode of Shift Happens. But until then, you can catch the previous 8 episodes plus this one. This is the 9th. Wherever you get your podcasts, and we will be back in a couple of weeks' time.
Sounds good.
Great. Thank you so much.